11 a.m. Eastern Time. It's LinkedIn Live, Hour of Empower. Today's really cool word is inspire. And if there's anybody who inspires anybody on LinkedIn more than Kelly, I have yet to meet him. So with that said, we're hoping to inspire everybody in the audience. We really appreciate your comments and giving us direction so we can be as valuable and relevant to you today as possible. Chat is open. And with that, I'll swing it over to Kelly, who will start thinking and mentioning what her thoughts on Inspire is.
Yeah. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. Yeah, it's always great to be back to back. Like it's just here 23 hours ago. How great. More time to spend and be inspired. Perfect word for this show for so many reasons. I think so many people know, and probably those that are newer on, at the end of last year, beginning of this year, I was feeling uninspired through work and which of course feeds into your personal life. So I was just feeling kind of blah and not feeling purposeful or living loud enough in my purpose. And then I had a call with Donald Cohen, a Zoom call, and I was on his show 2 days later, and I've been here ever since. And it inspired me to start the awesome journey, which my motivation for that and for this over this 10 months, which is so crazy that it's been that long. But then at the same token, it feels like home. So it feels like I've been doing it forever with you. But the whole purpose was to inspire. Like, what can we do to help people connect, inspire, feel a sense of community? Because when we have this sense of community, we feel safe, supported, and we're more apt to do things that we didn't think we could do before. We feel more supported to again, feel safe to take that risk maybe that we wouldn't have done without community. And I think every day here is about inspiring one another. We get inspired by messages that we receive. We get inspired by the comments that are put during the lives. And then we get inspired by people who are like, I saw your show, would love to have a conversation. I'm inspired by every guest that we ever have, every guest I have on The Awesome Journey, same for sure, because I think people's stories, regardless if it's something that we've been through, they inspire us and motivate us and remind us that we're all connected. Like, I think that's so important, and that we all require the same things, which, to peel it all back, goes back to love, and love inspires people. So that's where I'm at this time around. I do have some more thoughts though.
Well, always I sort of piggyback on what Kelly just said. The inspiration comes from future collaborations where a lot of people are excited to get into something knowing it's kind of finite, right?
Mhm.
Take a class, take a vacation, whatever it is. But when you're really inspiring the person that you're working with and they're inspiring you, right? That's an energy boost and a thought energy boost, right? So not just like going to the gym and working out and
Yeah.
getting healthier, but actually getting healthier in your vision for the future.
Mm.
What your belief in the future is, because to Kelly's point, it just showed before our conversation, she was in a certain mindset.
Mhm.
And as we pivoted to where mindsets were more supportive,
Mhm.
right, and connections were working closer, and that's what happened right off the bat. Everything since then has been getting a little smarter, learning the ropes, getting to know tolerances and areas that are
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's been great, but what's even greater, and I think people don't always see that on a day-to-day basis, is how far we've come, but how far everybody has come. There's like 15 people who are now having their shows who started here, and there's probably another 50 or 60 people who made their first appearance here and
Mhm.
maybe waiting for a show. So, this is actually getting more action driven.
Mhm.
Like, everybody's capable of this. Everybody has a voice, and all you have to do is attach to it. And,
Yes.
and if you can't, you can attach to someone like Kelly or myself,
Mhm.
or Harvey with his the franchise show, and Kelly's got the awesome journey. And that's an extension without risk. And if you're qualified, and qualified means have value, respectful, and interested in working in a fair way with people, you can become a guest on everybody's show in time. So there's almost like a stair step to it. So I'm all excited. Leslie's here. Leslie was here yesterday. Inspire, a great word. Uh,
Yes.
Thought energy sharing, the basis of mastermind. We are sharing our subconscious mind with others. And you know what? People are getting up out of their chair and doing stuff. And that motivates other people to get out of their chair and doing stuff, because their question is, what am I waiting for?
Yeah.
Right? If the door's open, maybe it's never been opened, and maybe it's a surprise that it is, and maybe a mystery for a while. But if you see people just like yourself in the same situation rising up, it's because they found more fertile ground with a better collection of chosen people, right? Than being satisfied with the group they're in, which was not sometimes as supportive, or the circumstances. When you can adjust who you're with, what you're doing, and how you're doing it, it's a natural for you. I mean, it's all, and then when you see it and feel it for the first time, and you gain a certain level of confidence and power in your ability to change things at will,
Mm.
right? You can have 4 shows today. No one's going to stop you. You can do, if you got something to say, you got a place to say it.
Mhm.
And I think that's something we're discovering. So Omar's here. Omar's got his show. One thing I'll say about Omar, and there's so many people who are trying new things,
Yes, I love it.
game shows, this and that. You don't have to follow the rules because there aren't any. It's
And his new one, the Do You Really Know, that you were just on. I thought that was great.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing is, everybody wants to benefit with everybody, not off of everybody. And that's really a lead into the Go Giver book, because the whole book is all about giving value, giving it without concern for, will you ever get it back? When will you get it back? And you'll find out that the more you give because you're not worried about it, the more you'll get back. And
Yes.
the more fun you'll have with it, because what is a smile on somebody's face?
Everything.
Right. What is someone getting back to work, or finding their dream, whatever it is, a job, a person, whatever, and you had a little bit to do with it? How can you put that in dollars? And you know what? They'll never forget you. Just as an aside, me and Ann celebrated our anniversary for when we met. And that was,
Aw, that's so cute.
yeah, October 7th, actually. So what's interesting is there was a girlfriend of Ann's named Chris Breck, and it was a blind date, and she fixed me and Ann up. So every year we thank Chris for bringing us together, right? And it's those things that continue. Here's a lady who I've been noticing lately, Mara. So glad to have you. It's great to have new people who,
Yeah.
coming in at the best of the best, because I feel so grateful for the people who started with us, stuck with us, helped us become better, and then continue to expand that circle. And that's what we're doing, is more circles come together. Each circle gets bigger. Dennis, our rhymer, is here. Agree, if the door is open, it is time to be adorable, helping others too. And Dennis is a sweet soul, and you can tell people's heart in their speech, in their writing. Carrie's here. Carrie's always got something funny or a joke to say. So, thank you for coming, Carrie. Kelly, I will put you on my schedule for my show one day. Well, great. See what happens? You just say something nice about somebody, and pretty soon you're on their show. That's how easy it is. Give value, and not just Ben will, but others will benefit too. And giving is the opening for getting. I met Mara on the franchise show. Great. Yeah, I believe I saw Mara there too.
Yeah, that is where she is from. Yeah.
Well, what's beautiful about that? You go on Kelly's show, And if I'm there commenting, the people there will pick up a new connection. I'll always get a connection request or two. If I go on Harvey's show, and if Harvey mentions me or Kelly mentions me, that's one more feather in everybody's hat that says, wow, they've been blessed by the person I came here for, Kelly or Harvey or Omar. And it is like, a seal of approval.
Yeah.
Right? That when everybody who respects everybody finds somebody who's new but promoted by somebody, it's easy entry. Kelly?
Yeah, so I so much there. But I think to piggyback on what you were just saying about going to other people's shows, I try to pop into everyone's, even if I can only pop in for a few minutes, because I think it goes back to that whole thing of support. Like, hey, just because you've gone off and started something else doesn't mean that we all don't still support you and what you're doing. And I think it all makes, and because I'm the same, I love when I see people from here on my show in the audience because it's like how great that they took the time just to let me know that they were here. I mean, that just feels so great and it's inspiring to continue. Um, and then really right before we came on, I had a thought about Inspire because I was on a phone call and it was with someone who needed to talk. And I thought, you know what? We inspire people a lot of times just by listening because maybe we just need to talk to someone that we know that cares about us. And I'm not talking about, complaining or bitching, which sometimes we do that too, but I mean, that's life. But when we have something maybe that's bothering us and we're holding it in and we can call that person and just be like, hey, I just need someone to listen. I need to get this out and I need to let this go so I can breathe. And thank you for listening. And how inspired now I feel reset, re-energized, or now I feel inspired because I've let go of whatever it was that I was carrying this morning or whenever. So I do think we inspire by listening to people and really to go on what you were saying too about when you being a go-giver. Like I can't wait to see Bob tomorrow. It's going to be so great. Um, Giving, and I used to say this a lot about it. I've always worked in nonprofit in some capacity, whether it's by being a mentor or on a board of advisory, and it's always been involving kids or at-risk youth. And people would ask me, like, why did you get into that? Or how did you get into that? And I say, sometimes I do look back and I think like I almost feel selfish because it's those moments when I sit with, my mentee, um, who's been through some horrific things in life that no human should ever go through, let alone a child. But when you can look at something through their eyes and see them accomplish something they didn't think they could, or that they're like, thank you for seeing me for who I am and accepting me for who I am. And thank you for loving me. Those are things that I just even got goosebumps over just saying that. Those are things in life that you can't put a price tag on because it's priceless. And it's all you need to do is give someone your time, being present and their love. And it changes their life because it inspires something different to have that feel that support probably for the first time in their life. But the gift that it gives me back, it does almost at times feel like so selfish because it's like this is the greatest moment right here and I would do it all day every day if I could because there's nothing greater than that feeling of love. And that is, like Leslie would say, that's the highest vibration. We don't live there all the time, but man, when we're there, we're like, God, this feels so great. And then really embracing it in the moment. So those are my thoughts this time on Inspire.
Well, we're growing, we're changing all together. And what I'm realizing is to be inspired, it really helps to be comfortable.
Oh yeah.
Right? To have focus, to be in the moment when you can get all in versus distraction. And again, tying it back to the show, it took a while to get comfortable doing a show. Got comfortable.
Oh yeah.
So there's you got to get over. And then after a while, it's like you don't even know you're on a show, right? You're just sharing and
conversation.
That's right. So once you can get over whatever it is that's technical or strategic or whatever, now you can get comfortable with yourself and share and help other people share.
Mhm.
right? So it's a place where people could get information, give information, express something that they feel is bubbling up and needs to get out there and has been waiting for a safe environment or a supportive group.
Mhm.
And so once that happens, then the responsibility is, what do you want? Right? If you know it's a good place, if you know you're ready and able to take steps, what is it that's stopping you? And
Mm.
that's where the conversation should surround itself with at a certain point is, hey, if you're missing a piece or two, I might know somebody, or I might even have it. But, or, just like when people get jobs who've been looking for it for a long time, everybody's so happy for them,
Yes, so
right?
true.
And so it's the same thing. If one says, if I only had this, or I could learn this, or get to know somebody, I think that is so key. So the power is in your hands. It's what are you doing with it? And really, at the end of the day, what responsibility and accountability do you have to inspire others and be inspired? What's your capacity? What do you think, Kelly?
Yeah, I think, just as you were saying that, because when you do inspire others, what it does for you, I mean, again, it's like it's tenfold. When you give, it's you get back ten times. And I think I said this early on, probably my first round, about talking to other people, hearing their stories, or knowing their struggles in the job market. Um, wanting to start doing a live, whatever the situation is, their stories always inspire me in some way, or it makes me go like, "Oh man, I didn't think about it that way." So curiosity and just doing a live, and I will say, I likely will never go back and watch my first episode, but it's a total change because it does add a confidence that I don't even really know that I needed so much, because I never thought I wanted to be on camera. I was like, "I don't wanna be on camera because I don't want people saying anything, negative." I'm thick-skinned, but, nobody wants to be torn apart on social media. But LinkedIn has proven to be a platform. I mean, that's never happened. I think we had a whoops from a wacko the other day, but that had nothing to do with individuals. So the platform has been so incredibly supportive, and that's what's inspiring. Because if you would have told me a year ago that I would be doing that I would have done over 100 LinkedIn lives by now, or live broadcasts and podcasts, I would have said you were crazy. Like, there's no way that's going to happen. Um, but I was just continually inspired to continue to do it. And even in the beginning, I didn't really know why. And I don't want to say I didn't know why I was doing it, but I didn't have a goal in mind. I just thought, oh, I just feel like I'm supposed to be doing this. And I was very motivated by my faith. And, for those of you that know, I do say that, but I was very driven by prayer to continue to do it for whatever reason. And I'm like, I just feel inspired to put some light, love, and motivation and inspiration into the world, whether it's an hour a week or 2 hours a week, because we all need more of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And when I think of inspire, I think of, again, elevating, getting your mood up, getting your mindset up, changing from, mediocre, sad, angry, frustrated. How much can somebody change so quickly? And and I'm watching some videos, I always see the soldiers coming back and
Mm.
surprising their kids or surprising their parents.
Oh,
And you just see it in a second. Somebody who was just eating their lunch, and all of a sudden everything burst out. And that's how much someone can change somebody's life
mhm.
from being in it and being, united again. And I think that's where, if you're looking for a disparity, that's a huge competitive advantage, is bringing people together when so much is tearing people apart, right? If you can be that place where, okay, we can be people, we can be friends, we can help each other, and we don't have to do anything but what we're doing.
Mhm.
We don't have to get into everything. And that's why I always like to keep this, to the point, to the word, to the mission. which is, does everybody come out better,
Yes. Yeah, and
right?
I used to say that all the time. I need to start saying it again because I was like, I challenge anybody to show up and not leave feeling better than when you arrived. So because it's true, it just is one of those things, and I think that's why I've loved it so much, and it's meant so much to me on a personal level. Um, and being so proud of it because it is that. I mean, I tune in almost every day. I do try to tune into, particularly when we have new people, because it's the same thing for me as a listener. Is it inspires me or I learn something just from a word. And it is kind of funny to think back. We used to just go live with nothing. It was like, don't know what we're going to talk about today, but we're going live. um, and I think I said this probably a little bit yesterday, but what it's done is, because when people hear the word live, like I did, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. Like live sounds terrifying. Like, what if I screw up? um, but it goes back to what you were just saying before about confidence. You just have to have confidence in being yourself and being okay with it. Because it's when you're trying to be something that you think people want you to be, that's when you come across as inauthentic. And I think that's a mistake, and so learning to be comfortable with yourself. And I know I've said this before too, because I'll be mid-thought sometimes and I'll be like, I have no idea where I was going with that. Like, whoops. But being able to laugh at it, and but that's how we all are. Like everybody does those things, and it's not a mistake. You can't make a mistake being yourself. I mean, yes, I make mistakes in life, but I'm saying surface wise anyways. But I do see we're having quite a few comments, so we probably
Yeah,
want to.
sure. Let me jump on them.
Yeah.
Leslie is the host must be mindful to not make it mean. Something is wrong when people come and go. Well, I guess what I realize, most people think speaking is traditional speaking when you get in front of an audience. And let's say 100 people show up, you can pretty much depend 100 people will probably be there at the end or pretty close to it. But when you're live, the accessibility, the mobility, the flexibility is, it's really about friendships if you look at it. Because Kelly's right. If I remember, that's the only thing that will stop me. Or if I'm not tied up, I'm always going to get the Harvey show. I'm always going to get the Kelly show, or at least that's always my intention. But sometimes something comes up or you forgot. But at the same time, when you're promoting each other, you're inspiring each other, and you're inspiring the people, right? Because at a certain point, people are going to trust you and like you and want to do more with you based on how you've been serving them, right? If you're connecting people with great people, if you're bringing people on the show, if you're promoting their book, if you're helping them with whatever, and there's room for that, right? In an hour, there's plenty of time for someone's book for a minute. There's, what are you doing? Why not share that? Especially if you shared the person, why not share what the person is into and how you can relate to that person? And I think you can choose now who inspires you, if nothing else, by the audience that you may participate in, right? And all of a sudden start to look higher. I'm sure people that have been on the show have great shows of their own, podcast. Follow that up, and I think you'll get more inspired. But getting back to the people, Maria's here. Kelly, you again. Wow.
Yeah, Thursdays is my normal day, my regular day.
There's never enough Kelly, let me tell you. Because, it's not just the personality, but it's the person, and I think that's as or part of the whole equation of really how kind are they, how genuinely thoughtful over time. Anybody for 1 hour can be anything they want to be, but does that last over time? Dennis says a lot of us small business owners do work and nonprofits, but we still love what we do. Yeah, you're so right.
So true.
And they say that certain things are a labor of love, and they're not work. There's something that you're just so fortunate. How many ball players said if they never paid me, I'd still be playing this game, because that's what they enjoy. That's what they love. And if they're fortunate, they get paid a lot of money when they do it right. Coming back to Tanya. Tanya's here, corresponding with her. She's down in South Africa. Thank you for taking the time, especially at this time, to be with us. Leslie says, sending you Zoom link to complete yesterday's collaboration meeting. Okay. Yeah, there's so many pieces that keep coming together.
Kim!
I haven't seen you in a while.
Oh, girl, love you. Oh my gosh. See, now I'm so inspired. I feel so much love. So happy to see you.
Well, in some ways it's like, like homecoming all the time is people that, were regulars do come back and revisit. And it shows you that they found more and more things to find themselves into, like Ambimbola is like all over the place and just can't be happier for so many people. So yeah, so glad I could join. I miss y'all. Thanks for being here. Well, it's friends like you that make it all worthwhile. How are you? Good to see you. See, everybody's a family in a way. Mara says sometimes even simple question can help you feel safe. We had a call today with an Israeli prospect. We started the business call with simple, how are you feeling today?
Oh.
We saw his face relax and a timid smile came up. It was so heartwarming. And, I think that's the extra mile that people can go.
But don't you think that's just the part of like being present and meeting someone where they're at? Like pain, I mean, that's just thoughtful. A lot of, especially on business calls, a lot of times people can be just so the focus is the goal and we just got to move and it's not personal. I think that's beautiful. They took the time to be present in the moment and check on the person. And we do say that a lot, hey, and I can't say this about Kim. When we first didn't see her for a while, I did text her afterwards because I'm like, girl, I just want to be sure you're okay. Is to encourage people. When you do see people that were here all the time and suddenly you don't, send them a message, and just check on them because everybody's going through something. And I think it's always nice to get that little note just to be like, hey, I was thinking about you. I wanted to be sure everything's okay. Or I was just thinking about you is nice. So anyways, total digression, but.
Well, I think it's important. And I think what it demonstrates is awareness.
Yes.
That you're aware of who you're talking to. Again, looking at Bob coming tomorrow, Bob Berg, I spent probably now about 3 hours on YouTube, just looking at all the interviews he's had to kind of, just to get the flow of it. And, there's a saying that luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you should always up your preparation when you want to learn a lot more, when you have an opportunity. You don't want to go in, oh, I didn't know that and I didn't know that. How many people do you have a Zoom with? Mm-hmm. And they ask you questions that if they took 30 seconds on your profile, they would know.
Yeah.
Right. But you're going to take a half an hour of your time with somebody you don't know, but not take 3 minutes to have a little bit of context. So, the responsibility and accountability is on you to be aware of who you're with, be aware of what's going to make it a more positive opportunity. So, I think there's a lot to that. Leslie comes back, but I remember practicing in 1950 when I got a first TV in the bathroom mirror being on TV. Well, I think that's always good to move back to memories that were positive, that were happy. And you can apply those early lessons to later in life in so many cases. The simple things you learned early are the things you learned the hardest and also made the biggest impact, right? So people who will go through scot-free through their childhood without a lot of challenge really are a lot of cases unprepared for the real world. Yeah. And the people who have suffered the most really have more gratitude and appreciation.
Yes.
For where they ended up, because they could never have thought where they were is now an opportunity to become where they're at. And that's so important. So Kim comes back. Omar, my friend, doing well. Hope you are. Linda's here. Linda's great. Recognizing Carrie. Beverly's our Tuesday. Anchor. Good morning, Kelly. So happy to be here. Always happy to see you, Beverly. If there's someone who inspires people, it's always Beverly.
Yes.
Because she's always on. and on in a way of favoring somebody she's with, supporting somebody, promoting something. And you feel vital then when you're actually creating value.
She cares. I mean, she comes from a place of love always, and that's what I mean. She's a warm hug all the time. I adore Beverly.
And she practices what she teaches, not
Yes,
just preaches.
100%.
So she is the product of the product.
Yeah.
Um, Kim, great, doing well. Maria,
Oh, I love
folks often think they have to be perfect to inspire. In reality, others get inspired by you just by how you deal with your imperfections.
that.
That's
Amen.
that's a good point. And to Kelly's point, if you're good at accepting things gracefully or with humor,
Hmm.
I make so many mistakes, but I don't care because everybody else makes so many mistakes, and I don't care when they make mistakes, and I don't know what a mistake is. But it's the people. And that's what live I love because I don't want to prepare for a show. I don't want to keep it scripted or structured, right? And I don't want to do homework when it's over. So, if you just accept yourself for who you are, and another thing, no one should expect more from you than they're willing to give you in forgiveness.
Hmm.
If someone says, well, it was an honest mistake, and I believe them, I trust, I don't care. It's okay. It's the ones who say it isn't a mistake when it is, or they just won't move with reality that makes it less inspiring. And
Hmm.
there's so many people that you can choose the candles you decide to light your life up with.
Yeah.
Right. And the ones that are dimming or challenging, another time, maybe. Beverly comes back with, that's the truth. This is why groups can be so empowering. Well, because there's success that's happening also. I haven't got into the rah-rah stuff. I was never a Tony Robbins guy or getting into those large functions, but who gained from those opportunities? Some people, especially on the stage for sure, and I'm sure some people in the audience, but that's the factor of the value is how many people came in at a certain point and then leave better for the time they spent, right? And that makes it for a quality group. Not, it's if you can launch more people, if you can get them to fly as high as they can versus restrict them, you're going to gain all that value of what they can share with you on their journey. So Leslie, great, a lot of hellos. Leslie, I asked my audience someone to keep up with me because I will forget where I am.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, she does, which I absolutely adore. She's like, what was I talking about? I mean, and it's like, but that's the whole thing of just owning who you are. I love that she does that.
well, that's and that validates things for Leslie to say, okay, well, that's a firmer belief in doing that. And when people say not only is it not embarrassing, I think it's pretty cool.
And
You know,
I think I used that as an example before. Simon Sinek, who I'm a big fan of, and I do love, Maria was like, "Hey, Dawn, don't come after Tony Robbins." Um, anyways, Simon Sinek was on stage, and of course, it was a huge presentation. I don't know how many thousands of people, and it doesn't matter, but it was a massive group that he was speaking to, and he lost his train of thought and was completely like, "Holy moly, like, where am I?" And he just looked at the audience and said, "Hey, have you ever been on a stage and lost your train of thought and had no idea where you were going? That's just happened to me." And everybody chuckled and he said, "Can anyone help me?" And people started yelling out like what he was talking about and he got back on track. But it's what it does is it resets the audience in a way and you've connected now because everybody can relate to that on some and it makes you human. I mean, and people connect with that. So I think it's beautiful when you do own your your whoops, I'm a human and I forgot where I was going or what question was I answering. And Maria, to also answer your question, my mic situation is this is a white Yeti with my bling wrap, and this is my pop screen. So I couldn't have anything normal. And for those that probably know or don't know my story, I lived a portion of my life where my light was very dim and when I came out of that dark situation, I was like, I'm going to shine so bright that others can't help but shine too. That's kind of where it all came from. So I have blank my license plate even says shine. So that's
Well,
what
I think also Inspire also has a lot to do with dreaming, right?
oh
To
yeah.
start dreaming again. The Disney show when I grew up was, it would always open with Make a Wish on a Shining Star.
Oh yeah.
It was that song. And so many people believed that, participated, and forgot about it later in life. They forgot how to dream. They just accepted their lot in life or their situation. And when you can dream again, when you didn't think that was possible,
Yes.
that's the difference. People are looking for things that serve their maybe ego or physical needs first, the material things, the status things, the whatever things, instead of really feeding their inspired mind,
Mm,
to get in a position of thought and belief and confidence that you just know it's going to happen. You don't know always when or how or who, but again, if you keep yourself in circulation, if you get yourself exposed in the proper way, if people can see you for who you are, because there's a lot of people that their cover of their book doesn't look that good. It's just the way it is for whatever reason. But there's so much value, so much beauty inside of that person, that once they can get out, I mean, it's just like those talent shows, America's Got Talent or whatever. You got some person you don't assume will know or do anything, and all of a sudden they're like, wow, how did that come out of their mouth?
yeah.
Or how did that happen? And it's there almost for everyone. There's everybody, I believe everybody has greatness within them.
Yes, but I think it goes back to like taking the time to be present and ask questions and be curious. And I've always been curious about other people and just always have been, even if different even if they had a different belief than I did, I was curious as to why. Not because I am. I want to know how people are and doing interviewing people, talking with people, however you want to say it, because I'm the same. I'll look into people before they're on my show. And a lot of them I dive deep because they're interesting. And I do find myself like, oh gosh, I've been watching their other podcasts for like 3 hours. Um, but you learn so much when you take the time. And then even when you really dig in and people share and you're like, holy mackerel, like I would never have guessed that you had gone through that. Um, then I guess the point of that is like it's because they've gone through it. They're not still living in it, whatever the trauma is in their life. Because I have found some of the most incredibly giving individuals are people that have been through the most horrendous, heinous traumas or life experience, um, because they come out, with their turning their pain into purpose or passion, and it's such a beautiful thing to see that in someone to be like, wow, you're a hero. I mean, to yourself, for the healing, because it's not easy. And I know I've said this before, and Maria will probably call me out on this too. Is if growth were easy, we would all be doing it. Um, but that's why I find people so inspiring because everybody's been through something. You can't tell. I mean, we think we can by looking at someone, but that's called judgment. And when we judge people, that has something to do within ourselves. And you need to question, why am I judging this person on this? What is it in me that it is sparking or that I don't like of my own self? Um, and I think that was a challenge I talked about before. I'm not a New Year's resolution person, and I can't remember who, if it was Brene Brown but it was someone like her, that had said, hey, I challenge everyone to spend 30 days of recognizing, or even start with a week of recognizing how often you pass judgment.
Hmm.
Really pay attention to it because you'll be shocked at how well practiced that muscle is within us. Um, and I did that at the beginning of 1 year because that's when I had heard about it. And it was a very introspective exercise because it does make you say like, "Oh my gosh, like I had no idea I was judging on that, and what is it in me um, that is creating that?" Because it has nothing to do with the person. But I thought it was a very interesting exercise, and I journaled all about it. So it was, I don't know. So I challenge you to pay attention because you'll be shocked. I promise you.
Well, everybody needs different exercises to move them forward, and journaling can work for some people and whatever it is. But I think the key is when people are expressing themselves, how much of what they're challenged by is self-perpetuating,
Hmm.
and how much of it is outside influences you can't control. Either way, you can't do something in some areas. At the same time, you can that you're not.
Hmm.
So the solution is within you,
Hmm.
and the future is for you to plan. And how much baggage? I know it's easy to say because I've been in places where if I would have just said, well, you should be thinking that, and once you think that, everything's going to turn fine. Well, the reason you are where you are is because something got you to that point.
Yeah.
Broke you down or threw you down or whatever.
Hmm.
But that's where learning little bits over time. That's like all support groups, like AA, right? 1 week and somebody helping you keeps you in the game long enough not to slip.
Yeah.
And slow, easy steps are the most comfortable in the beginning versus big leaps.
Yeah.
And then once you can take a step, it's easier to take the second step once you can depend on somebody. But you've got to be worthwhile to that person.
Well,
Me.
and yourself. I think so much part of it is like, as you were saying that, and probably of what I was just saying before, is we've got to inspire ourselves. Um, and we say that a lot. Happiness obviously is an inside job, and we've got to be our biggest cheerleaders. But we can inspire ourselves by doing things like that, I think. And Maria, thank you for saying that was my 5,006 time, I think, or 5,606 time of saying if growth were easy, we'd all be doing it. I appreciate her tracking that.
Well, and I think that's what helps is everybody keeps everybody on balance.
Yes.
Share some more comments. Linda comes back with a big one. Oh, how great a miss, but I managed to come on Word Inspire. I'm so glad we found this community and Don bringing people together to think, grow, and inspire each other in a safe place to meet others. Morning, all. Thank you for you all. And thank you back. There's no greater thank you than when everybody is in that circle of thank you. And even words don't always serve to express what someone feels or what someone knows. And it's really because they've had something to contrast it with,
Yeah.
right? In order for this to be positive, they had to come from something that evolved to helping them be positive. And having a good mindset is such a good friend to take with you anywhere. Right? When you're cool with everything and you're cool with everybody, and even a flower lights you up, and it can, because, it's just like a scavenger hunt, right? When you're a kid, we're going to go around the neighborhood and see who has a candle or who has whatever. And we come
Can't
back.
do that anymore.
Funny story. My son had his gang, guys, really nice kids. They were all athletes. And one time they thought up or did something that says, let's go door to door. And whatever we get, we go to the next door asking for something bigger. Right. So if someone gave them a doorknob, someone would give them a box. And eventually they came home with like a full stuffed elephant or something. But it was just the ability to open up to the possibilities, and believe that if other people can, you can too, right? But they didn't get there overnight. What you're seeing is a product of hard work, a lot of pain,
Oh yeah.
a lot of disappointment, and that's just part of it. And I
Mhm.
think if people are willing to say, well, yesterday's yesterday, is not easy, but it's not today anymore, right? I'm working with now, I'm working with where I've become. And if you really think you need more and deserve more, you're probably right. Right? Take yourself at your word and now go get it. right? Whatever it takes, start making those moves. I'll get to Maria now. Going to each other's shows all well and good, but I also think show support by commenting. It's more than just sure. It's a beginning, you
Yeah,
know.
love
It's
that, Maria.
it's the minimum is watching.
Yeah.
What do you do with it? How easy is it to comment on a post? How easy it to share? I mean, if you bought a ticket for an hour at a show and all you had to do is comment or share at the end of it, it's like takes 10 seconds, 20 seconds. I'm not saying that you should, but you should for the ones that meant something and you can communicate it, right? Saw this show and I got an idea from Kelly, or Linda was here and it was a great show. I mean, it's that awareness and it's the promotion of people right in front of you.
Yeah.
You know, would you ever feel good about eating a big meal with great service and skipping the tip? And that's really what it is in a lot of ways. It is, you thank somebody in some way or another to motivate them to keep coming, right? And I think that's what you want to do is perpetuate, sustain, promote, support. If this is your well of knowledge and inspiration, get as much as you can from the well. Drink with bigger cups, and share with bigger hearts. And that will apply to everything beyond it, because once you get into that mode of looking for ways to compliment somebody sincerely, and something that's meaningful, you'll like yourself more because people will appreciate you more, because very few people do those things. Do what others don't do, get what others don't have. Omar, that's awesome. Natalie's here. Natalie's a great audience member and always brings some wonderful insights. Loving this topic. Without that spark of inspiration, our stories can feel a bit flat. So whether you're giving a pep talk or getting one, never forget how powerful a little inspiration can be. It's what ties us together, lifts us up, and keeps us moving. Yes. And, with inspiration, support is just natural. It's actually, inspiration is support.
Yeah.
Kim comes back with, appreciate you. Great.
Love you.
So many good friends agree being present at the moment is a present to who you are with.
Yes.
And it can always be that. That's beautiful, Kelly. When you just say hello, how are you? It can make a world of difference. You never know where someone is at. It can make their day. It makes my day.
Yes, that's so true. And I know I've shared this before, and this is just a quick little side note on that. I am one of those people that when I'm out somewhere, if I would say hi to people, and particularly the one that maybe looks down, because I was that person one time where someone that went out of their way to say hi when I was feeling like garbage, and that just helped me feel a little bit better in that moment for whatever it is. And it's like, how much energy and effort did it take to be kind to someone for 3 seconds? But it makes a difference. And like I said, I know how it worked for me. And that was honestly part of my therapy at one time, was writing down my checklist was get up, get dressed, go out and smile at someone. Because of course, when you smile at someone, generally they will smile back at you. And then of course it went to 2 people to 3 people, however it was. And that's goes back to what you were saying earlier, because that's about mindset. I needed to shift my mindset because I'd had so much negativity thrown into it, that I needed to readjust it back to some positivity. And it is those little things that are seemingly little, but they're big. So that was my digression.
Well, they're very big because, I took my walk. It was a beautiful morning in the park, and I believe I must have said hello to at least 5 people. And most of them I have said hello in the past. But what's so cool is you can see the progression when you see a stranger. And are they moving further and further away from you as they get closer to you? Are they looking at you? Are they, but what happens is once you break through and have that first hello, the second one is easier for people. And now they're not avoiding you. And actually, they're starting to put a little expression into it.
Yep.
And what it does is it gives you your first human connection of the day. You've said hello and someone said hello. So as you're inspiring, they're inspiring. And now how much better can that be? Maria comes back with, Kelly, what is that? Mike, okay, we talked about that. Go behind words can express how much I admire your truly model leadership in all its forms. Thank you, Kim, because everything I am is because of someone else. Everybody comes in the world knowing nothing, being, just new. Everything from there is what do you accumulate from people around you, from yourself, from your world. And, it's beautiful to be around beautiful people. And that's more than skin deep. And, it's sincere. That's the best compliment when they mean it. The
Oh,
worst compliment is like they don't care. They
right.
are just so
Words. There
they're
was
just looking for something. I mean, they're so and so I do appreciate that, Kim. Oh, Kelly, big hugs back. It's kind of a love fest. Hey, don't come for and even he had to start with one person one day, to get to where he is. A mistake is when you under or overcook your steak. That's you're cooking for others. I freaking love that, Kelly. Great. Maria's on a roll today. So happy. Dennis, agree. If stay on track, you'll be well trained.
Mhm.
Maria's back with that was number. Okay, we talked about that just briefly.
And I know you were joking, but I love it.
Everyone has a story, and everyone's story empowers others. That's why my podcast is about stories. I'm interested in the story. The story
Yes.
is their why. And that's why I always say facts tell, stories sell. No one wants to hear numbers or statistics or technical stuff. They
Never
want to know, hey, that Christmas with your grandfather and this happened or that happened. Wow. I can almost be there with you and experience that. I know so many people have told me stories about their life that became stories in my life because I aligned with it. I related to it. I wish I would have had that story, but at least someone shared it with me. And I can vicariously live through that. So too many people are used to prime pickings, perfection, things of that nature versus, hey, there's goodness in everything if you look for it.
That's right.
Right? And it's you who need to look for it. So many people want it to hit you like a tennis ball. Just joking. Okay, Dennis, agree, set your mind, have more beneficial mindsets. Beverly, as you never know how just listening can make an impact on someone's life. It does.
So true.
And whose life do you want to impact is the bigger question.
Mhm.
I always have a group. I'm always grouping. Like this is a priority group. That's a group that needs supporting this week. And who is it that's in your orbit that you want to make sure you're there for them consistently? And that's the other element. If someone inspires you once and that's it, it's not as powerful as sometimes every time you meet that person or see that person, you get inspired just for coming together again. Yes, Don, coming to our well here is like the icing on the cake each week because people come here and be real, share, and help others know you can do. And I have others here willing to support and lift each other up. Glad made it to be part of it and so happy to have you. It's all family, right? And what I love about it is it's sorted so well. The people who are here for the right reasons, doing the right things. And the people, in a lot of cases, who used to be here aren't here anymore because it doesn't feed them in the way they need to be fed. Right. So
I think sometimes too, and we've talked about this before, I think, and I felt this way all my career is when I have a member of my team as an example, and they move on to somewhere else, bigger and better things for whatever. I couldn't be prouder or happier. And I think sometimes, hey, maybe people came here, got enough inspiration to finally try what they wanted to try, or had that connection that they'd been waiting for, got the job that they finally been waiting for. Because and when you were saying earlier about when people get a job, how everybody applauds and supports that and is bigger cheerleaders. Amber Bowl is a perfect example. She finally got full-time work and we were all like, oh my gosh, we couldn't be happier for her. It's a bummer we don't get to see her as often anymore, but it's like she's moved on to things that we're all so happy for. And I love seeing when people come back in to be like, God, I haven't been here in a while. Like Kim today. I love that everybody was like, Kim. Because it is a place you can still come back. and just say it's a homecoming, I think, like you said, which I think is so great. But I think sometimes people have gotten what they need and they've moved on, which is a beautiful thing. That's not always a negative thing. Because I have had managers that I've worked with say, like, oh, this person left. And I'm like, yeah, but they ended up going to Harvard because they were so inspired by the work they were doing here and wanted to go get their degree. Like, what a beautiful thing. And
Mhm.
what a wonderful thing to be able to say you were part of that. Like, that's the beauty of growth in people.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say outgrow, but sometimes people come in your life, what is it? Reason, season, or lesson, I think, something like that. And that's just how it works.
Well, and here's the thing. If you were a high school teacher, you wouldn't want your best students to come back the next year and repeat the class
Right.
because you got another class coming in and you want to get them in, get them up, get more, that's the key. You don't want, that's what I'm saying. People want to hold people where they're at because they like them where they're at or it works for them.
Yes.
Right. But I'm like, hey, if you can do better, you should do better.
Yes.
Right. Because if you're not going to do better, what's the whole point? Plus, no one burns bridges that they don't intentionally burn. And the point is, if Kim wouldn't have exemplified herself so well to so many people over time,
Yes. That's right.
she wouldn't have been validated. Say, well, everybody is so happy to see me. I must have done something right with them to
Mhm.
make this welcome worthwhile. And the same thing back is, even what Kim said to me, there was never a question of where was Kim? I must have done something wrong. It's like, hey,
Right.
I hope Kim has gone on to bigger things because she'll come back and share it, right?
Mhm.
Just like you may not repeat a class in high school, but you definitely, if you're in the neighborhood, would love to say hello to the teacher and say, because of you, I became a carpenter, or because of you, I met my first wife. Whatever it was,
Yep.
you gave me inspiration,
Mhm.
right? You taught me things I needed to learn and didn't even know it until you taught it to me.
Yep.
And you sacrificed, you gave. And because of your sacrifice and giving, I was able to now become better for it and now be better for the people around me. And if you want a better world, start with the people you're with. Start with the people you impact. You can do what you can do. And even if you can't make it a better world, maybe you can make it a better way of looking at the world. You
That's
know,
right. Right. If you're gonna sit and criticize and complain about it, what are you doing to make any difference? And it does. I think it helps our own mindset when we start putting things out positively, or inspiring others. It just inspires ourselves. So it's a mirror back to us. So we do have control over our mindset.
well, yeah, and we learn together and we learn from each other. So let me just, what do we have? Okay, so Maria's saying it's okay for Dennis to be weird. So we renewed your weirdness license for another year, Dennis. So thank you.
Weirdness is not a felony type. I love that.
I'm studying it. Hopefully, that can be a catalyst for sure. And
Oh, that's awesome.
tell us, Terry, when you get there, and we'll give you a big hurrah.
Yeah.
Great being with you guys. Got to go. Cats are hungry. Come back tomorrow. Don't miss Dennis Berg. Uh, you who are not going, you bet. So, anyways, finishing up, Kelly, what's your final thoughts um, on the show and inspiration?
Well, I mean, come on, I can't I never leave not being inspired in some way or another. And super fun today. I mean, I kind of feel like Maria was a guest with us today. I adore you and I love that you comment so much. And count my how many time I say if growth were easy, we'd all be doing it. Because I need to say it more, I think, because more people need to hear it and be inspired by it. And as I always wrap up, and I do want to say, because you said Dennis Berg, that's why I said Bob. Tomorrow's show is going to be very inspiring. So I do encourage everyone to be sure to try to come back tomorrow. And if you can't get it live, do get it on the replay because he's pretty incredible and will inspire you, I have no doubt. And in the meantime, please do go out and shine so bright that others can't help but shine too.
Well, if there's anything to inspiration, that's your adds to it and puts it in perspective. And do whatever you can, whenever you can, with anybody you can that can help inspire you or vice versa. Because what happens today eventually will come back, and that's the whole go-giver philosophy, is being able to give. And I would read that book. I actually would, or listen to the Audible. It really is inspiring. The Audible is only about 2 hours, so it's not a major time commitment, but it's kind of a parable, and it's a story, and I think it's worthwhile. And if you can't do it by tomorrow, then meet the author and bring some really cool comments to the table, right? Because we want to show who we are and how we are to people who have yet to know this. So thank you again. Last comments to Kim Dower, have positively changed my life.
Mm,
We'll be grateful
right
to
back to
you.
sister.
And you're so valuable. And I can say the same thing about Dean LeBay. I can say the same thing about so many people who have written to me and Kelly and told us some things that I was just taken away by, and didn't know me and Kelly had that ability. Because I think the people on the show who are really getting it, we're not the can, but we can be the can opener, right? We can allow, we can be that, open the door for someone.
Yeah.
And not have to be that someone. And it's a gift, because it is helping so much. So anyways, with that, see you all tomorrow for Bob Berg, if you can make it.
Yes.
And be inspired, and tell us what this new inspiration has done for you over time. So thank you again.